deep, you can walk across there. Don't walk, there's a bit of stone there. But around here, front of the wheel. Yeah. Oh, wait, I thought it was a bit there, but...
No, be careful, careful.
See, if you get to it,
Yeah, I'll go and do it.
Hello, my name is James and welcome back to another video.
Hello, my name is Martin and welcome back to another video. Who are you? We're here at Castlefield. I don't know if you remember this place, but on Medlock number 11 we came here on the kayaks. You were there, weren't you, James? Yeah. Came here on the kayaks and we ended up at the Grocers warehouse, and we actually got out of the kayaks and ended up in the wheel pit. Now, we were ill-equipped that day and we discovered a tunnel. So let me just refresh your memory about where we were back in September 2020. So here I am in the wheel pit trying to negotiate all the workings. As you can see, I'm only geared up for a kayaking day. I had trainers on and I didn't expect to find this tunnel that you can just see to the right in a moment. This bit here now, getting around that post, was a real swine. And Kev was with us. Kev had to help us and pull me round. But no lights, only trainers, not geared up for tunnel exploration. Only had the light of my mobile phone. And as you'll see in a moment from the next clip, we walked down the tunnel with the camera and we couldn't see a thing. The lighting wasn't sufficient. So this is it. This is the best it got. We walked down the tunnel, got to the shaft, and the footage was atrocious. So we were left very, very frustrated. So as you can see, I was ill-equipped that day. I only had the light off my mobile phone. You stayed up top, didn't you?
Too muddy.
Too muddy. Your little
trainers.
Your little feet and your trainers, yeah. No lighting, just mobile phone lighting, and this fantastic tunnel with this chamber at the end, and we couldn't make out what it was all about. You know, I couldn't see with my own eyes, never mind the camera's seeing for you. So anyway, I'll cut to the chase. We're back, and we're back this time with lights. We're going to go down the tunnel and try and work out what that little tunnel and the chamber at the end is all about. So I need to tell you, if you didn't watch Medlock number 11, I need to tell you about the Grocers warehouse and its significance here in Castlefield. So that's the video there that we first encountered the tunnel. It was Medlock number 11. This is the Grocers warehouse as it was. You'll see there it's got the Waterwheel with the winding mechanism, built around 1771, quite unique for its time because it was the first purpose-built warehouse, canal warehouse. That's in 1960 before demolition, and that's the site after demolition. Just probably early 80s, and then in the mid 80s they decided to try and recreate the Grocers warehouse, probably realised what they'd done, that they should have never pulled it down in the first place. And so that building you see there in the background, that is the recreation. And on the left hand side there, the wheel pit is still there, and the recreated gearing mechanism and lifting mechanism is still in there. So, the Grocers warehouse, you see the significance of it. It was one of the first of its kind, a purpose-built canal warehouse. I'm not saying it was the first one ever. There were other canal-built, purpose-built warehouses around the country at that time, but here in Manchester, it was the first of its kind. Now, we're going to drop into the wheel chamber. A couple of things you need to clock. The mechanism that you see, the gear wheels and everything, that's a reconstruction, as is the whole of the Grocers warehouse that stands there now. All reconstruction. The wheel chamber, the actual pit, is original, and the tunnel is original. So without further ado, let's drop in now to the wheel chamber and we'll go along that tunnel and I can show it you properly. And I think what we're looking at is something very significant that predates the warehouse, the Grocers warehouse that was built late 1700s, and I'll come back to that and explain that to you. Right. Can you foot it?
Yeah. Gonna get a little one. As you start, like a...
Yeah, hold it. Just don't get spilling outwards, just pull it inwards. Look how, lads, that's it. Hang on. Right, okay. What's that first rung? What's that behind you?
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, sorry. You got that one in your bag, James? Yeah.
Yeah, so should I get that out?
That's the thing there. You're best off down there. Okay, so I'll let you take a look at the tunnel and the chamber, and then we need to have a discussion. Oh, look at that. There's a canal behind there. Yeah. Yeah. That's canal water. What's that? Okay, so here we go again in slow motion, and you'll notice that the water is running downwards, and I want to know where is that water going, because this chamber doesn't flood. It's running down into a sump underneath the rock, but where does it go from there? Interesting question. Now you might say to me, well, surely it runs into this thing here, which is the Medlock diversion tunnel. It must run into there, Martin, and then run back into the river, and that's the answer to your question. Well, I don't think it does, because that thing there that you're looking at was built mid-1800s, and the chamber that we're looking at currently is sort of late 1700s. So this thing that you're looking at came much, much later. So the water must have its own route, possibly back to the Medlock, might now run into there, done later, but originally, where did it go, and does it still take the original route? Interesting questions. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Okay, back to the chamber, and you'll see there's an inflow of water there, just coming in from underneath that archway. You'll see the shaft just up above, but we'll come back to those. So where is that water coming from? Right, well, let me just show you on this photograph here. Right, nice wide view there of the Grocers warehouse, and where the white arrow is, that's where the tunnel is, and you'll see to the right is the canal. So the water is coming from that body of water in the canal and flooding through the bricked up archway and down into our chamber. So that kind of explains it. Okay, back in the chamber, and you'll see the archway there, and we've got a shaft there that's now domed off, and this whole thing is cut out of the rock. It's absolutely fascinating. But what was this all about? I was a little bit baffled initially. This thing, I think this thing predates the Grocers warehouse. We're looking at something much older. So I'm going to show you a drawing in a moment, and it will hopefully explain why this shaft is here. I thought this tunnel was just a tail race to take water away from the water wheel, but I was asking why is there a chamber at the end and the shaft and the archway. I think I've worked it out. Allow me to explain with this drawing.
Sorry. Right, let's try and get that again.
Okay, so here's our drawing, and it's a top view of the Grocers warehouse, which is the rectangular building you see there. You see the two canal arms? Well, the longer one is the original one. To the left you've got WP wheel pit, and then you've got PS penstock. That's like a sluice gate mechanism. You've got the tunnel, which I think is a tail race taking water away from the water wheel. But then you've got the chamber and the shaft. Now, this is why I think it predates the warehouse, or it does predate the warehouse. This was the original way of taking goods up to street level. So before the Grocers warehouse was built, the boats came along that longer canal arm to the left. And it was all in the open air. Now you'll see an inset up in the top right hand side there. I'm going to show you a close-up view of that inset, and it will explain what happened before the warehouse was built. And that's why tunnel, chamber, shaft predates the Grocers warehouse. Take a look at this inset now. That's the original arrangement. That's how it looked. The wheel is turned 90 degrees to what you see in the opening scenes of this video. So it's being driven by the Medlock, which is coming into the canal basin. It's turning that wheel, and it's driving a belt. It says slack belt drive there. That's going along the tunnel that we've just seen, and it's going to the chamber. Now, the slack belt drive, I think we've got evidence of that, some sort of cabling or some sort of mechanism in the following clip. If you look here, just above the entrance to the tunnel, you see those three score lines at the top of the screen there. I think that's evidence of that drive mechanism. Probably some sort of cable, some sort of rope that went along the roof of the tunnel. Difficult to know exactly how it was, but something's made those three score lines there. So there you go. So the mechanism, or the ropes, go along the tunnel to the chamber, and there's the shaft. And I think then that the coal at the time and the goods were offloaded through the arch into the chamber, through the bricked up arch, and then they're now underneath the shaft, and they were winched up the shaft to the waiting wagons, horse-drawn wagons. Inside that chamber there was probably a wooden platform, I think, and I'm going to show you evidence now of why I think there was a wooden platform in there. So you're offloading the goods through the arch onto the platform. Let's go back to the chamber and I'll show you now. Okay, back in the chamber. We've just got a clip here of James trying to get across the chamber on the quicksand and failing miserably. But if the camera, when the camera pans up, just look in the wall and you'll see these little square recesses. Alright, come on Martin, pan upwards. There you go. See the square recesses there? I think there was probably wood slotted in there to create a platform, a working platform. Goods were passed through the archway there, onto the platform, and hoisted up the shaft. So probably in the early 1800s, when the Grocers warehouse was operational, they've domed off that shaft. But this is the work of Mr. Brindley and his team of builders and tunnellers. Absolutely incredible that they've hewn this entire chamber out of solid rock, and it was purely to get goods up to street level. An incredible feat and fascinating, and to know how old it is just equally mind-numbing. I want to know how old that crate is actually. I bet that's quite old as well. And there was a fish that had made it through that water. And that flow of water. You see there's a dead fish on the ground, poor bugger. I wonder how long that's been there. So this is it. This is the recreation of the Grocers warehouse, and you can see it's got the two canal arms on it. massive issues, even though the height isn't very much. And the issue was getting the goods from down here at water level to up here at street level. It's not a massive height, it's only what, 20-30 feet, but it caused major problems getting the goods up to this level. Brindley had to come up with some pretty decent engineering, and then the Grocers warehouse had all sorts of lifting gear in it to overcome the problem. Okay, so here it is in writing. Brindley had something more ambitious in mind as a way of overcoming the 7.7 metre height difference between the river and the town, no doubt using the experience he had gained in building the underground network of canals at the Worsley coal mines. Brindley built a brick arched tunnel that ran from the northern side of the Medlock northwards below the line of the modern Castle Street, from which level a shaft was sunk and a swivel crane used to haul boxes of coal directly from the canal boats to the roadway. And it says power was by a 30-foot diameter water wheel which turned a wooden cylinder carrying a rope for operating the crane. And there you go, there it is. That explains our chamber, our tunnel and our shaft. So we're up here on Castle Street in Castlefield. This is where the goods were brought up to, and this is where that little crane was on that drawing. This thing here is above the canal arm, and the shaft that you saw in the chamber, I think, is probably roughly there, just under the road there, I think, and it would have been brought up there, up to that little winch. There was probably a horse and cart and a winch there out on the street. Absolutely brilliant and ingenious. So that explains it. Quite interesting to think there's a little shaft underneath that road, or it might be just underneath the building, not quite sure. It's difficult to work out from here. So we'll leave the chamber now and we'll go back along the tunnel. All that work done by James Brindley just to get the goods from down at canal level up to street level. Only 25 foot, but it must have posed so many problems. And they were going industrialised, so they were trying to get bigger loads up, and pushing it up a slope was no good, so they needed that hoist. And as we get back into the wheel pit, you'll see we get a nice view there, the reconstructed Grocers warehouse. Really is fantastic down here. It's I think one of my most favourite places, really. But just looking at the water in this wheel pit, it's very deep. If you think about this, when the camera goes back down, you'll see, think about the other half of that gear in there, that wheel is submerged under the water with probably a couple of foot clearance underneath it. So if you fell in there, I think you're going in up to your neck. So it's pretty dangerous. So just beware. Okay, James, can you foot this ladder?
Yeah.
You're footing it now, James, yeah? Come on, lad. Go that. Get you tea light. Right, I'm going to stop. So there you go. From darkness to light, we've finally seen in that little short tunnel, we've seen the chamber at the end. It was good, wasn't it?
It was good.
Apart from you trying to go over the quicksand
to
get your little tea light that was on the other side. Have you rigged this up? What is this about?
I know, it's
is this
weird.
A sculpture? I don't know what that's about at all. Anyway, from darkness to light, we finally took some lights down that little tunnel and we've seen what's inside it. And the fact that it was, I think it's so significant, and it possibly predates the Grocers warehouse. That was the original shaft with a little crane above. Fantastic. So it was brilliant to see.
It was good.
I won't be going back there in a hurry, but it was amazing to know it's there. I hope you enjoyed the video. We've finally cast some light on something. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.
Bye for now.
And he'll see you in the next video.
See you in a bit.
See you in the next video. Bye for now.